The timber snapped and crashed into the dry dust. A heavy, hollow thud echoed across the valley. The crowd flinched for a second and then exploded into laughter. "So, how is the sailing, Noah?" The voice from the crowd was sharp, like a jagged stone. The wind kicked up the gray dust. Children laughed, pointing fingers at the massive ribs of the ark. Men argued about the price of grain, glancing at the old man with pity. Women turned away, hiding their eyes, embarrassed to witness a man's dignity crumble. But Noah stood beside the giant hull of the ship, too large for this wasteland, too impossible for this parched, cracked earth. He did not look back. He did not try to prove that the sky would soon turn black. He simply leaned down and lifted the next plank. His hands were a map of deep calluses and old scars. And in that moment, no one knew yet who among them was truly the madman. We often call those mad who prepare for the storm while we enjoy the calm. Stop for a second. What are you building while everyone around you is laughing? The world back then was loud and very full. People rushed, they bartered, they feasted, they fought and made up again. They built houses meant to last forever, hoarded gold that no one can take with them. They argued about power and their own absolute truth. They felt it would always be this way, that tomorrow would be exactly like yesterday. But something inside that world, quietly, began to break. Words became hollow, like husks. Laughter turned into cruelty. Hearts grew heavy, like stones. People stopped hearing each other. They shouted louder and louder, but understood less and less. And in that endless screaming, they stopped hearing God. And then God looked down. Among thousands of voices, he saw one that was not shouting. Among millions of running feet, he saw one pair of steps that was not rushing. That man's name was Noah. He was not stronger than the others. He was not richer. He was not more important or noble. He simply still knew how to listen, how to hear. What mustn't thing you can do is just be silent and listen. If you also feel that the world has become too loud and lost its way, write one word in the comments: I hear. Let us see how many of us are here, those who still know how to feel the real stillness. The voice came on a day when the world was especially pleased with itself. The markets were buzzing, the wine flowed like a river, deals were closed. People laughed loudly, the way those laugh who are absolutely certain that tomorrow will come. And it was then that God said to Noah, "The world is rotten. The waters will rise. You will build an ark, not for beauty, not for faith, for survival." Noah stood among the people. The sky was piercingly clear, the earth dry and hard. Nothing, absolutely nothing confirmed what was said. Except one thing, a feeling that there was less time left than it seemed. He looked at their houses, he heard the laughter of their children, and he realized explaining was pointless, asking was useless, arguing was dangerous. He simply turned away, lifted the first plank, and with that short movement, he cut off his path back. Years passed, day after day. The sun rose and set, and the ark grew. By plank, beam by beam, Noah worked in silence. His hands grew coarse, covered in a bark of calluses, his shoulders filled with a leaden ache. His back remembered every single day of this back-breaking labor, and the people, they walked by. First, they stopped out of curiosity. Then, they laughed, loudly. Full bellies, without a shadow of shame. "Look," they shouted, "there he is, the madman. He is building a ship where the earth is cracking from thirst. Noah, where is your sea? Noah, where is your rain? Who are you lying to? Noah, us, or yourself?" Someone spat in the dust at his feet. Someone pointed a finger. Children mimicked the adults, throwing stones at the hull. The laughter grew, right along with the ark. But Noah did not stop. He raised the hammer. He brought it down, raised it again. Strike, Strike, strike. Each blow went into the wood and into his own body. Each strike was a promise. Each strike was a prayer without a single word. Sometimes he would look up, look them in the eye, and say, very simply, the water is coming, time is short, the door is open. But they turned away, returned to their wine, to their trade, to their quarrels, to their tiny, little victories, and the ark grew, and with it grew a vast silence surrounding Noah. Being right all alone is the hardest test for a human being. If you are also pushing forward with your work right now, while no one believes in you, put a plus in the comments. Let this chat become a place of strength for those building their ark against all odds. The ark was finished. Not beautiful, but heavy. Not graceful, but enduring. Noah entered first. His family followed, step by step, in absolute silence. Then came the animals, quiet, restless. They felt it long before the humans did. The door closed. Hollow, heavy. Like a verdict. The sky changed in an instant. The light vanished, as if it had never existed. The air became thick, like water. The first strike of rain was like a slap to the face of the world. Then another, and another. The earth groaned. Water surged from below. From the very depths, water poured from above. From the torn clouds, the sky simply collapsed. 40 days, 40 nights. Without pause, without mercy, the city was drowning. Fields disappeared under a shroud of muddy foam, with a luff of dry twigs. Cries tore toward the sky, but the sky was no longer listening. Those who laughed were now running. Those who spat were now begging for forgiveness. Those who turned away were now pounding on the sealed door of the ark. They beat with their hands, with their blood, with their shattered voices. But the wood remained silent, because the choice is made much earlier. The ark shuddered. Slowly, with a long creak, it detached itself from the dead earth. It rose, and it sailed. Around them, only water, no roads, no homes, no yesterday. One ship, one family, one life, and a silence in which laughter would never be heard again. Water came without warning, not as rain, but as a strike. The sky tore open, the earth cracked. The first streams hit the dry dust, and in that very second, turned it into mud. And then, even the mud vanished. The earth itself disappeared. Streams turned into rivers. Rivers became walls. Water forced its way into homes, through windows, into the very throat of the world. People ran. They fell. They rose again, screaming names that could no longer help them. Roofs were ripped away like autumn leaves. Doors choked as they tried to close. Livestock bellowed in the icy water. Children cried without sound because their screams drowned faster than their tears could fall. Someone climbed higher. Someone held another's hand until their last bit of strength failed. Someone prayed for the very first time in their life. The belt of water rose faster than words, faster than late repentance, faster than the understanding of what was happening. Washed away the markets, washed away their laughter, their gold, their eternal arguments, and their bottomless pride. People pounded on the timber of the ark. They pounded with their fists, with their foreheads, with their frantic, maddened despair. But the wood was deaf, because the choice is always made before the water comes. Waves covered everything. The world vanished. There was only water. This is the most terrifying thing in life, to realize the truth when there is no longer time to accept it. What would you be thinking in that final minute? Write it down, if you have the courage to look deep inside yourself. The ark sailed, not with confidence, but by necessity. It was not carried by the waves. It was carried by the end of the world itself. The timber groaned under the weight of this infinite water. The beams creaked, as if remembering every strike of the hammer back in the dry plains. Water battered from below, pressed from the sides. It was everywhere, even when the rain could no longer be seen. Inside, it was dark, cramped. Life was breathing right beside him. Animals moved restlessly in the shadows. Wings beat against the heavy, damp air. Hooves slid across the decking. The scents merged into one thick stream, the smell of fear, of sweat, and of life itself. The ark tossed as if the abyss wanted to flip it over. Sometimes it would freeze on the crest of a wave, making the heart stop. Sometimes it plummeted down into the very jaws of the elements. Noah clung to the wood, not to a handrail. He clung to his memory. He counted breaths. He listened to the violent strikes of water against the hull. And every blow seemed to ask him, will you endure? Will you stand? Nights no longer differed from days. There was no light. Time did not exist. There was only movement and waiting. Sometimes it seemed to him that this was forever, that there was more water in this world than the world itself, that the shore, the solid ground beneath his feet, had never even existed. But the ark held on. It sailed. It moved forward without direction, without a horizon, without the slightest certainty. Like faith itself, it has no evidence except for the fact that it is still alive. There are times when it feels like the dry land is gone and there is only darkness. What helps you hold on to your ark in those moments? Your family, your work, or your quiet faith? Share it. Your words might become a lighthouse for someone else in the comments. The rain ended as abruptly as it had begun. The sky no longer beat against the wood. The water stood still, heavy, silent, dead. Noah waited. He measured time not by days, but by his own breathing. He opened a hatch and released a raven. A black shadow vanished into the gray sky. Wings disappeared and then returned. Nothing, only emptiness. The world was not yet ready to receive life. Noah waited again. The silence stretched. The ark creaked, as if remembering the past. Then he released a dove, white, against a backdrop of gray, fragile, against the infinite. The dove flew away. It returned. It fell onto Noah's hand, exhausted, without land, without a foothold. There was still nowhere to live. Noah did not lower his eyes. He waited again, and this time, the dove returned differently, slowly, heavily, with a branch in its beak, green, alive. The first color, after the death of the world. Noah tightened his palm. He did not smile. He simply exhaled. Life had returned. When the door of the ark opened, the earth was damp and utterly silent. The world stood empty, like a place after a final verdict. And then Noah lifted his eyes. Above him stretched a rainbow, not soft, not a fairy tale, sharp, real, like a scar left after a strike, was a sign, a promise without words. The water would never be the end again, but the choice will always remain. Noah stood on the ground for a long time. He did not take a step. He did not speak. He listened. The world breathed differently, without the noise, without the rush, without the crowd. The animals left the ark cautiously. Looking around, inhaling, life was returning, not as a celebration, but as an effort. The earth was empty, but clean, like after a fire, when the ashes are still warm, but the future is already possible. Noah knew the hardest part was only beginning. Now, he did not need to build an ark. Now, he needed to build a world, without the water over his head, without the voice that commands, only with memory. Memory of the laughter, of the closed door, of the pounding that was never answered. The rainbow still hung in the sky, bright, hard. As a reminder, not a consolation, God kept his word. But man, once again, had to make a choice, every day, again and again. Noah's Ark is not just a story about a flood. It is a story about each of us, building something important today amidst the noise and the mockery. The door of your ark is still open. What kind of world will you start to build when the sun rises tomorrow? Write your most honest thought in the comments. Until we meet in the new world. And now, look around you. Today, the water does not pour from the sky in torrents. It arrives differently. It floods us with news. It deafens us with noise. It seeps in through fear and a frantic, blinding speed. The world is laughing again. It is rushing again. It is absolutely certain that tomorrow is guaranteed. People build plans instead of foundations. They hoard numbers on their screens instead of meaning in their souls. They shout louder and louder, just so they do not have to hear that very silence deep inside themselves. One feels today that something is wrong. Hears that same familiar laughter from the past. You are overreacting. It has always been this way. Relax. Just live like everyone else. But arcs, even today, are not built when the water is already your ankles. They are built in profound silence, in total solitude, in those decisions that no one will ever applaud. Remember, an ark is not a ship made of wood. It is what will keep you afloat when the world you know begins to slowly sink. Your principles, your family, your truth. There is only one question, and it is being asked right now. Are you building or are you laughing along with everyone else? If this question made you stop for even a second, it means your construction has already begun. Like this video if you choose to build. And subscribe so you do not have to face this silence alone. Here, we build together.